If you're enjoying the Idea to $1,000 challenge, I invite you to join the 7-day no-code build an app challenge, where over 7 days, you will build your own AI-powered app yourself. The link is in the description. It's just $7. We do this to filter out the entrepreneurs from the real entrepreneurs. Come join the 7-day no-code build an app challenge. You can upgrade to have access to a premium Discord channel where you get access to me and over 130 challenge takers at this point. This is a way for you to put some skin in the game and actually go from idea to building an app. You'll be building your own AI powered app. I provide you a full template. All you need to do is clone the template, follow the steps. It's probably about an hour long of course content. You get to learn directly from me, and I want to see you build and launch your own app. So click the link below. And without further ado, let's jump into the challenge. All right, everybody, welcome to, I believe, day 9 of the Idea to $1,000 challenge. Today's going to be fun. We're going to jump right into it and start building functionality. The goal of today is to get the functionality for the voice assistant to work. So the user story is, as a user, I can talk into my application and send that data to an AI. The AI will then transcribe my voice, perform some analysis, and then send some data back. So the major constraint for today is the voice widget in FlutterFlow. That widget, to my knowledge, only works for mobile. I did some R&D and I haven't found the perfect solution for web. But for today, what we can do is we can actually create a voice file, use that voice file as our test file that we can send back and forth from the app to our BuildShip API. And we should have what we need to actually test the voice functionality. So today's going to be pretty fun. We're going to build a voice streaming app in FlutterFlow essentially and connect it to some AI. I want to start building. Last session, we had some really good analysis on another app that we studied to understand what their onboarding flow looked like. And I think we're doing a good job kind of modeling after that. However, there's a lot of work that we can do. However, I want to stay focused on the functionality. So this one's going to be fun. Let's just jump right in. And if those of you are coming from another office hours, y'all are warriors and just bouncing through the office hour calendar. Honestly, it's really impressive to see where the office hour calendar has honestly come to. I remember just having a couple office hours a week and that being enough, but just to kind of show you all, office hours have evolved incredibly. Like we have a full stacked calendar. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, almost 7 hours of like support that you can get every single day. I think yesterday we had even more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are days where literally you can get 8 hours of support. That's a full-time support schedule. And I'm super, super proud of it. If you go back to say, I don't know, early January, if I were to drill into the week of January, like you'll notice that it was substantially less. And so I'm really proud of where the team has gotten to. And for all of y'all who trust us to help you building your apps, we would not be here without you. This is our real office hours schedule earlier in the year, and I'm so thankful to God and y'all for helping us get to this point. It is a large operation that we're running, but we're very excited to be part of your journey. So thank you again. And if there's anything that we can do to get better, we want you to be vocal, because that's my goal, is to make sure that you guys have all the support and resources that you need, because those are things that I wish I would have had when I was building. So I want to start by saying thank you to everybody, because sometimes I wake up and see this calendar and I'm like, there's no way that this is real. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's jump in and start building. Fantastic. So here is our Closer Academy app, and I'm running it in test mode, just hitting the ground running. So my app right now has the challenge page. And if you remember from last session, and if you weren't here last session, I'll make sure to have a link to the recording. You should all have access to the course in the lab dash, and we're posting all this on YouTube as well. So I added this tab right here to make it easy for me to test this functionality. We don't really have a good homepage, and the rest of the app is kind of bare bones, but I really want to focus on this functionality. Then we'll come back and tidy up all the designs. So right now, when I click get started, I did try to wire up the microphone action, but that action is not available in web. So like I said, we are going to test with a audio file. So that's the first thing that I want to do, is I want to create an audio file that I can test with. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share my screen fully this time. I will open up something like Camtasia, which is the software that I use to create my videos. And what I'll do is I'll just create a very basic audio recording of me just trying to sell a pen, right? Um, so let's do that. We'll go audio only. Cool. So we're recording. The reason you should buy this pen is because this pen has Wi-Fi built in, and as you write things with this pen will help you by saving everything in the world that you've ever written to a Google Drive that you can access forever. How many times have you written down something on a piece of paper and that piece of paper gets lost? Well, with this pen, that's never going to happen because this pen is Wi-Fi enabled and you will never lose anything that you write. So the reason that you might like to use your computer is because you like being able to save your documents. However, we have finally solved that with this pen. This pen is Wi-Fi enabled and it's going to keep you from losing anything that you've written. Cool. So stop that recording. And so we're recording. I'm just going to get rid of this little piece. And then here's what I'll do. I will then export this as a local file. And I want to make sure that it's audio only, not a video. I actually haven't done that in a while from, oh, here we go, audio only. And I'll say, sell me this pen. Cool. So now I should have. The reason you should buy this pen is because this pen has Wi-Fi built. Beautiful. So now I have the .m4a file. And the next step from here is to work on the functionality to actually send that file to BuildShip and then transcribe that file from audio to text. Because once we have it in text, we can then send it to ChatGPT and we can do some fun stuff from there. So what we'll do is we'll head back to FlutterFlow and I'm going to change this get started action. Okay, so instead of going with the microphone, I'm actually going to remove everything except this. So I'll say copy here. I'll delete everything. I'll just paste the one action that updates my page state so that the button flips. Then I'll add an action for upload file. Upload, save media. Okay, media source is going to be uploaded media. And this right now does photo or video. Let's actually see what upload file gets us. File type audio MP3. That's what we want. Upload type, we're going to do upload to Firebase. Audio MP3. We're not going to allow multiple files. We will show the snack bar and we'll keep this that way. Okay. Then what we're going to do is output onto the page where that file is being stored. Okay. So here, I'm going to add a piece of text by heading here and just popping this text down. We might need a container first. Yep. So we'll take this container and kind of move it. Sometimes it's hard to do that. Take this container and kind of move it down here. Oops. Cool. Then we will expand this container width to 100%. That's fine. This is just a debug thing, and debug essentially just means like we're doing it for testing. And then I'll align it to the middle. Fantastic. So then what we'll do is we're going to add a page state, and we have audio path right here. I'm going to do something called like audio file URL. I'm not sure if we'll use this long term. And initial field value, I'm going to say just empty because I don't want to deal with it being null. Then we will map this to that page state. Good. Then when we hit get started, after we upload the file to Firebase, Firebase will give us an audio file. We will say update app state, or excuse me, page state. Update page state, add the field for audio file URL. We'll set the value to the output. Where is output? Am I missing something? Widget state, sorry. Uploaded file URL. Fantastic. We'll rebuild the current page. Great. So now if we go back to test mode and hit instant reload, this will give us that functionality, right? Let's see what happened here. Do we have a bug? I don't think so. Let's rebuild. While we wait for that to load, let's kind of talk strategy here. I will pull up the FigJam document from last time where we were outputting the business logic of Closer Academy. You should see that on the screen here. So what we're currently working on is this part, the voice file. So we still got to do some R&D to figure out, how we can get the voice from the app. And I'm sure there's a custom widget out there. And if not, we'll build it ourselves. So we'll say test. Is it a file URL in Firebase storage or is it a base64 file representation? For now, we know that it's a file URL. However, BuildShip might expect a base64 file representation of the file. We will deal with that in just a moment, and we can probably do that at the BuildShip level. So let's find out when we get there. Because ideally, we can work with the Firebase file. That would make life easy. Okay, cool. So now when I hit get started, this will ask us for a file. I'm just not sure why it's not finding the file I just made. Oh, it's because I put it somewhere else. Okay, so I see summithispen.m4a, but it looks like FlutterFlow only supports MP3 with that specific action. So let's see what's going on. Okay, so it says audio MP3. Let's do any for now. Okay. We'll test this in just a moment. So we'll say any. My goal right now is just to get the FlutterFlow app to accept a file, and then we'll go work on at BuildShip to figure out how we can parse this file and actually convert it from audio to text. So I'll hit get started. Now I see Sell This Pen because I selected type any, and then that gave me the Firebase storage URL. Fantastic. So now we can. The reason you should buy this pen. Okay, so now the debugger here on the left side gives me the page state audio file URL, and I can click on that to open my file here. So I'm pretty happy with that. Cool. So now we have our app accepting a file. Although it's not super pretty, it gets the job done to establish the connection. Our next step is to create a API that can now accept this file. So I'm going to say Closer Academy, create. I'm going to add here. I'm going to say submit response. We'll do this in a REST API. The type will be post because post APIs are API types that accept inputs. And then we'll always add a return because we use the request response protocol, and every post you make has to have a return. Okay. Now we'll start thinking through how we will accept and transcribe a Firebase audio file. So let's do some searching here. Okay, so we have some speech to text. Let's see what type of input this takes in, right? So it says convert audio to speech using OpenAI's Whisper API, and it says media URL, speech media URL. Well, this media URL here is a URL, but I'm not sure that this represents the actual file. So I'm not entirely sure if this is going to work the way I want it to. Let me think through this for just a moment. Because I actually believe that I have done something similar for Virally, but maybe not in this project. Okay. So in order to use any of these speech to text, we need to identify what the input type is. We can try to use OpenAI's Whisper, which is likely what we're going to do. Google Cloud has one as well. It's our job right now to pretty much pick the right one. I'm going to commit to OpenAI just to see how their APIs work. And this specific project doesn't have an OpenAI key. So I'm going to head over to OpenAI Playground and go get my key. We'll pause my recording here so y'all don't see my API keys. Cool. Now that I'm back here, I'm going to add a secret. Let's say open AI secret value. All right. So now I can set my OpenAI secret here, and then the value of my return, I'm going to just send back the speech text. Now it says media URL. Let me see if they give an example. They don't necessarily give an example. I'm going to test it with this URL, but I'm honestly not expecting it to work. And I'll explain why once I figure out what the response is of this. So pretty much what I'm doing here is I'm saying, hey, Whisper speech to text, take this URL of a file from Firebase. And actually, I'm proven completely wrong. It's working. The reason you should buy this pen is because this pen has Wi-Fi built in. And as you write things with this pen will help you by saving everything in the world you've ever written to Google Drive, blah, 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 blah. Wow. Okay. I'm pretty sure I've done this in the past and that didn't work, but I'll take it, right? Who doesn't like when things work the first time? So good. We're off to a hot start. Now a user can upload a file here and we will trigger this Whisper speech to text, right? Then what we can do is we can pretty much say OpenAI assistant, and we'll pretty much call on an OpenAI assistant. The assistant ID doesn't exist yet because I need to create the assistant, and we have user prompt and thread ID. Pretty much what we'll do here is we will head back to OpenAI. I'm going to create a brand new assistant. And I told you that this assistant is an assistant that I'm going to hyper train on my data that I have um, as someone who will curate all the data about how to be a good sales rep, how to think about answering objections, and I'll pretty much handle um, all the business stuff on my side. So I'll call this Closer Academy Assistant. And I'll say, you are a professional sales coach helping sales reps get better at dealing, or not dealing, at helping prospects find the solutions to their problems. I'm going to use GPT-4o. I'll keep everything off. Response format, I'll leave off JSON for now. It's cool that they added that. I like it. And then what I'll do now is I'll hit playground. So I now have my assistant ID right here. I'll grab onto that. Good. And then we'll probably be adding some files here about our knowledge, and I'll come back to the table with that. But for now, I'm going to post my assistant ID here. And for my instructions, I'm going to say you are a sales coach helping sales reps get better at sales. I want you will be provided with two things. First, you will get the product that the sales rep is selling and the objection that the prospect is giving the sales rep. Okay. Then I will provide you the answer that the sales rep provided. You are to judge, or you are to provide constructive feedback to the sales rep as to how they can better answer that question. I'm going to say everything you have learned about sales comes from people like Paul Gordon, Alex Hormozy, I think it's Dean Graziosi. I forgot how you spell his name. Like that. And Jeremy Miner. Output. I'll put 3 to 4 sentence feedback. Okay, this is just a very freestyle prompt. I wouldn't do this type of prompt in production. We will probably be coming back and tweaking it a bit, but at least it's going to get the job done for an MVP. So now we will say the product you are selling is a pen. The objection that you got from the prospect is why shouldn't I just use my computer instead? The response you got from the sales rep gave is, and then we can add the variable for whisper, speech to text, And then I need to correct my grammar. The product being sold, pen. The objection from the prospect is, why shouldn't I use my computer instead? The response the sales rep gave is X. Okay, cool. So what I'll do is I'll actually copy this whole thing. Well, actually, no. Let's just keep it that way. I put it in the wrong spot. It's actually supposed to go into user prompt. Thread ID will leave empty. Instructions will say, you are a sales coach helping your student get better at sales. I'm being pretty scrappy right now, but the point is to get something basic working, right? So now let's hit test. And before I hit test, actually, I need to update the output. So the output here is going to be OpenAI assistant, and we'll put the response right here. Test. I imagine speech to text via whisper is probably pretty expensive. So we'll have to be mindful of that. Cool. Got a response. Your response had some strong points about emphasizing the unique features of the pen, but it was a little bit too long and didn't directly address the prospect's core concern. Why should they switch from their computer to this pen? You should focus on how the pen enhances the user experience in a way a computer can't. That's a great point. While computers are excellent for many tasks, they can't replicate the natural tactile feeling of writing. Our pen combines this with the convenience of digital storage. Imagine jotting down notes or sketching or sketches during a meeting and having them instantly backed up into a Google Drive without any extra effort. It offers the personal touch of handwriting with the reliability of modern technology. That is actually a really awesome response, and I'm very impressed by it with the limited prompt that we provided. So I'm bullish. Like imagine now when we output this back to the person, that's a really good actionable piece of feedback. And we haven't even implemented the technology that will actually come up with different AI powered, scenarios and AI powered products. Like this is about to be awesome. We're on the right track. So good. I'm happy with this, but what I need to do next is actually create this into a JSON because the app, when we parse this, will only respond in JSON. So we'll say response underscore text colon whisper speech to text, and we'll say speech text. Cool. Awesome. But we also want a world where we say this back to the customer, right? Or we say this back to the user. I'm not sure if we should attempt that. I mean, I know how to do it. We might as well just like prove that we can do it. Pretty much you go text to speech and we can use ElevenLabs. Um, so ElevenLabs text to speech. We actually have a partnership with ElevenLabs. There is a link in the lab dash to get access to our perk. I believe it's 50% off. They told me they run a um, pretty tight ship and they don't just hand out free access because they have an expensive kind of operation because apparently maybe it's AI and they have to like pay for all the compute space. But my point is that ElevenLabs is the place to go if you want to go from, text to speech. So I'll kind of show you what we'll do here. Essentially, we'll just take that, speech that we got, all this, we'll copy it. We can just toss it into ElevenLabs, and I can even clone my voice. I already have my voice right here, and I'll say generate speech. Your response had some strong points about emphasizing the unique feature of the pen, but it was a bit too long and didn't directly address the prospect's core concern, why they should switch from their computer response. I just realized that y'all couldn't hear that, so I'm going to share computer sound and play that again. Your response had some strong points about emphasizing the unique feature of the pen, but it was a bit too long and didn't directly address the prospect's core concern, why they should switch from their computer to this pen. You should focus on how the pen enhances the user's experience in a way the computer can't. Here's a refined approach. That's a great point. While computers are excellent for many tasks, they can't replicate the natural tactile feeling of writing. Our pen combines this with the convenience of digital storage. Imagine jotting down notes or sketches during a meeting. All right, that's pretty cool. Leave a comment if you think that's pretty cool. And if that's the first time that you're trying out ElevenLabs technology for speech to voice. Cool. Now we got to get our API key, which we can do here. I will quickly pause so you don't see my API key. Dope. Now we head back to build chip. I'll pass my API key here. We'll pass the text from OpenAI Assistant. Response. File name. So this is essentially going to be the name of the file that will get outputted by ElevenLabs when ElevenLabs generates the text, right? So I'm not sure what the file name will be right now because we don't really have like an input. What I can do is just write a piece of JavaScript that says like, maybe we can write some code. Autofill a random integer between, 5,000 and 10,000 or 1,000 and 10,000 or even more than that. Essentially, we just need to write some JavaScript to output a random number, which the file will be saved as. Okay, so let's do that. And then for value, we'll say response text, and then we'll say audio file colon the public URL of the audio file saved to Google Cloud Storage. That's good. Let's test this out. Within literally what, 20 minutes, we have a sweet voice assistant running. Like this is so powerful. Now it's just a matter of tying that back in an elegant way that feels good to the user and provides them with value as they continue to use the platform. I imagine this part will take a little bit long. Cool. So we got the response text, and then right here we got the audio file. You just copy paste that file.
Your response is informative and technically detailed, but it lacks a connection to the specific needs.
So it does look like it defaulted to the ElevenLabs kind of default audio, which is totally fine. I can show you guys how we'll do an Alim clone, or maybe we can do a clone of like another, maybe we can add a step in the onboarding flow that says, who do you want to be your sales coach? That would be fire. And I think that would be really cool for an onboarding. But what I'll do for right now is I'll just hit skip node on this, or isn't there a way to like, yeah, we'll just skip it. I think there's a way to skip the node and just set some values. So we'll just say, hey, this is a test. Run the node. Well, now it's skipped. So every time we run this now, it shouldn't do the text to speech. I think that will cost us some money. It's not so much the money that I'm concerned with. It's I want to make sure that we get this tied back to our app. All right, cool. So at this point, let's hit ship to actually publish our API endpoint. And now we will go back to FlutterFlow and actually integrate it. So this is our first major API. I'm going to hit create API call, and at build ship, I'll copy the endpoint URL, paste it here. Why isn't that working? Oh, well, first I need to say sales coach / submit. This is just a naming convention that I like to use whenever I'm developing APIs. There we go. Post, and we'll say submit response to sales coach. And right now our API doesn't accept any input. We'll change that in a bit. I just want to make sure that I can establish a connection between FlutterFlow and the API. It doesn't look like I can because it says that doesn't exist. Most likely because it just needs to be republished. I might be moving a little bit too quickly. Or maybe that's not it. Let's see. Build ship run sales. Wonder what we did wrong. Method is a post, sales coach submit. Not sure what we got wrong here. "404" means that page was not found, which means like this API doesn't exist. Workflow not found. Make sure you've deployed it with the trigger method set to get. The thing is, it's not a get. It's supposed to be a post. So let's take a look. Seems like a bug. Change that back to post. There we go. Looks like there was a small glitch in build ship. That happens. Cool. But now we've established a connection between our application and the build ship API. So boom, we are on the right track. Now what I'll do is I'll configure my paths by hitting on these recommended paths. I'll say add both of these paths. One of these I'll say audio path. And here I'll say response text. and hit save. Now what's going to happen is if I call this API from any screen, I'll be able to access that data a lot easier. Good. So now when I hit get started, I can upload this file. The paid state gets uploaded. Now I'm going to make a REST API call, right? Oops. REST API call. The API will be the submit response to sales coach API. And since it takes no inputs, that's totally fine. Now, instead of this page state that uploads the file URL, I'll delete that. And instead, I will update the page state to include the audio file URL. Nope, sorry. I will update the page state for the audio file URL. That was actually correct. And then I will set this to the output of my API call. And now that I've configured those response paths, I can hit predefined path and response text. Hit confirm. Gorgeous. So let's head back and rerun this app. But at this point, what should happen is the app should now establish connection to the API. And then the response of the API should be mapped to the front end. So now we actually have that two-way connection being made. And the next step from here would be to actually test some inputs from the front end and figure out how we can get the front end to send different files of audio, and then we can parse that at build ship. We'll also want to start thinking about today the architecture for how like random sales challenges will happen. We're going to need a database somewhere that will have a list of all the sales challenges because we're going to curate those. So we're going to want a database of all the sales challenges. And then anytime that page opens up, it should be a random sales challenge. So we'll try to implement some of that functionality today as well. Cool, Deline. Thank you so much for joining and have fun with Kamish. Dope. So we'll hit get started. We'll upload Sell Me This Pen, but that shouldn't even do anything like that in the sense of that shouldn't send the file. We're still about to do that. And now we know it works. So I just want to make sure that the connection is established. And yes, it is. The reason you should buy this pen. Beautiful. So that connection is established and the response is coming back from the API. The next step really is to send that file that we're talking about, right? So we've uploaded this file to Firebase. That file successfully uploads. Now what we're going to do is edit this API call to accept a body. This body will be a JSON, but first we need to add a variable that says audio input path. File type will be audio path. Is list is false. Then we'll go to body here and we'll say this JSON has a key called audio input path. Good. I'll also just start getting ahead by adding a key here that says maybe something like challenge underscore ID. And we'll talk about what this is going to do in a second. But I'm just going to keep that there for now. We'll come back to why I did it in just a moment. So we'll do audio input path. Keep this empty. But essentially, we want to provide the API with the audio that we are sending it. So we'll go variables, audio input path, value, action outputs, widget state, uploaded file URL. Okay. Good. So we have audio input path. Heading back to the API builder, we want to make sure that our build ship API can accept that input. So the name of the input is going to be audio input path like this. I'm going to copy it and head over to build ship, then edit the API call to look at the output. I'll click on body and the plus sign, and I'll just paste this key. And I like to just write out here audio input URL. The URL, the Firebase storage URL of an audio file. Okay, and that's a string. We'll hit save. Now what will happen is here in Whisper speech to text, we can now change this from the static, like hard-coded file URL to the dynamic one that comes from the body of the request. I'm not sure why that's not showing up right now. Let's look at what happened. That should work. Might be a bug. We'll refresh the page. I think it feels like this. I think it thinks the request is still a. In my eyes, it thinks that the. Oh wait, maybe. Oh crap! I did it in the wrong spot. It's not supposed to go in output. It's supposed to go in request body, audio input path, audio input URL, the URL of the Firebase storage audio file. The reason I'm moving quickly is because I got some feedback that people want me to go faster. And so uh, I also want to go faster, but I trade off making a mistake. But we've recovered. Now we can go to media URL, remove variables, request. Now body will detect the audio input URL. Fantastic. Now I can hit ship here. Cool. Fantastic. We'll test this one more time by kind of restarting, and we'll pass in. Well, sell me this pen was what I already had. So what we can do here, let's just try sending the pen. Let's do something else. Let's quickly create another audio. And I'm just gonna say something random. Like I'm not even gonna sell the pen. I'm gonna sell like, I don't know, a phone case. Okay, so this phone case is indestructible, and using this phone case, you will never ever break your phone, and your phone will actually have unlimited battery life because this phone case has an unlimited battery life mechanism where as long as you have the phone case in your pocket and you're moving around, this phone case will never stop charging your phone. Okay, so just remove some of this extra. Cool. So now I got that. So this time I'm going to upload the sell me this phone case and we'll see what happened. Let's see. Looks like it's still trying to sell the pen, but I have a feeling it might be our fault. Okay, get started. I'm going to sell the phone case instead of a pen, and we'll see if the AI detects that it's a phone case. The ideal situation is that the output involves a phone case. Okay, so I think it's actually outputting me my transcript. So we might need to adjust the output here. So response text is speech text. I wonder if that's the right one. We actually want OpenAI assistant response. We had the wrong one. Okay. Well, I love catching issues. I hate when issues persist, but I love catching them. Now, when I test this, hopefully I get the response of the AI assistant. Feedback. Your response didn't address the prospect's actual objection and straight into discussing a completely different product. It's working. This AI is really smart. All right, dope. So we've done our job here. We know that we can establish a connection between the front end and the back end. Now, my next order of business is to kind of animate or make this functionality, the challenge, a lot more dynamic. So I'm going to head back to um, my diagram here, and it looks like we did all this correctly, right? We got the input file, we did the build chip API, the speech to text, the text to OpenAI assistant with the pre-prompt. We haven't done the sales guru stuff yet. I'll come back to it once we start training the assistant. And then we need to incorporate this JSON summary, right? Like that's the next thing where we actually send the data to the front end in a JSON format, and then the front end will then move to the next page and display this stuff. However, what's more important to me right now is establishing this piece of the puzzle. This is my goal right now, is I want to make it so that um, I want to make it so that a challenge is saved in the database and that we are returning this challenge data every time. Okay. So let's head back to FlutterFlow. And the first thing I'm going to do is create a collection in the database for challenges. Okay. And I'll say create. Say start from scratch. And the first thing I'm going to say here is product underscore name with a string. Here I'll say product underscore description string. So the idea is that this collection of challenges will contain all of the possible scenarios that a sales rep can go through. And I know there's probably a world where sales reps will probably want to talk back and forth about one specific product and kind of converse. That sounds like a good future. Um, we could do it in like a chatbot style setting. Hmm. So how would I set up kind of the base architecture for this? I still think that every challenge needs to be its own object. And no matter if we go down the line with like a conversational interface or a chat type of interface, those types of things can come. Um, those types of things can come. But at the root of all this, you still need a database to store challenges, right? So let's say product name, product description. Um, we'll say, features. This will be a string, and we'll make this a list because one feature will have, many, excuse me, one product will have many features, and we can kind of nest those features out separately. Um, yeah, and then we'll say pain points so that we can list out the prospect's pain points. Okay. And again, my goal right now is to hypothesize. My goal is not to get everything right. My goal right now is to have kind of a base level understanding of the problem. And then once we put this into the hands of people, that's when the problem will, or that's when we'll let our customer feedback guide our iteration. And for those of you who maybe weren't here, but I recently did an interview with our sales manager, Alex, and Alex has led sales teams and been part of sales organizations. I actually interviewed him. I will be posting that on the Lab Dash. I think our editor is still working on it, but I have a whole 40-minute interview with Alex where I'm asking him open-ended questions about if he would use this and if he sees our enrollment department and sales people that he's worked with in the past use this as well. So I will be posting that user interview once it is done editing. So again, for now, my goal, and this should be all of your goals who are building apps, We want to have a baseline understanding of the problem, and we'll let our customer guide where we take it. Okay. So now we have challenges, and then I'll head over to manage content, and we'll kind of seed the database with some challenges. To do that quickly, I'm going to open up our good old friend ChatGPT, and we'll generate some challenges here. And I do have my sales trainer MVP thread. Cool. So I'm going to say, help me come up with a list of daily challenges for the sales trainer app. Every challenge will have product name, product description, features of the product, and I'll say array of strings. I'll also say here prospect pain points, array of strings. And I'll also maybe say prospect ICP data JSON. I'm adding this one right here, the prospect ICP data, because I want to see what it comes up with. And if I like what it comes up with, then I will update my database schema. Challenge 1, Pro X, features, prospect pain points, prospect ICP data, age 5, gender male, boom, boom, boom. Okay. Okay. I actually kind of like this. Let me head back and add prospect data. Enum, and we currently don't have an enum, so I'll have to go over here and add an enum. We'll say prospect data. Actually, no, we won't use enum. We'll use data type. Create data type from JSON. I was about to say, like, where was that feature? Because I used the wrong one. We'll say prospect data. Good. Now we can go back to challenges, hit prospect data. Data type is of data type prospect data. Okay, cool. Now when I use this, no documents, good. This is good. Good. Rewrite everything in a .csv that I can upload to the database. This is called seeding the database, and this gives you the base level data or just some basic data that you can kind of seed. Imagine you're planting a seed, you're seeding the database with data that you'll use later. So I'm wondering if ChatGPT can help me by giving me a CSV that I can then use here back in FlutterFlow. I can hit the upload CSV item right here and actually upload that. We'll check out their docs to make sure that we're doing it the right way. We'll try this out to see if we did it. Select file, we get the CSV open. We'll probably need to adjust it ourselves to match what FlutterFlow wants. Yeah, so we have Nice. So we got FlutterFlow to accept our CSV of data. This is really cool. We're moving super fast with AI. Boom, 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 boom. I guess. I could have swore I already had these things, right? Does look like features didn't make their way in there. Oh, features are here. It's because features got left as capital F. Uh, oh, I see. So we'll get rid of this one. Okay. So I actually don't like the fact that features is unknown. I'm going to delete this, replace it to features, string list, because I really need this to be accurate. And then prospect data we'll deal with. Yeah. Prospect data. I don't like that that's unknown too. I really need it to respect the types. Prospect data, data type is data type. Data is prospect data. Okay, cool. I'll kill this for a second. Manage content, challenges. And I expected a lot of this stuff to not be here. That's fine. So what we'll do is we'll go one at a time. Smart home thermostat. No idea why it's doing this. Features. Wow. Never been a big fan of FlutterFlow's content manager, so we might just have to do this in something else. Wow, that's terrible. This makes me almost want to just like kill it completely, which is what I'm gonna do. And instead, what I'm gonna do is update these. Well, actually, if I do it this way again, it's still not going to recognize it. So, okay. At least it's finally taking the right shape. That's all I really care about is as long as it's the types are consistent. So that's good. Um, okay, good. Okay. So then what I'll do now is I'm going to head back to that page and we have an error. Prospect data has no values. It's because I was in the middle of it. Good. So I'll head back to this page this time and now I'm going to do an add query. We'll do query collection. Collection will be challenges. And we'll say single document filters. We don't have a filter. Order by. We don't have an order by. Um, We do want a random document, but for now we can just go off the first one. And then what we'll do later is we'll add some logic to make sure that it's not giving us a challenge that we've already done before. Okay, so I'll hit confirm. Good. Good. Complete your first challenge. And here we're going to say text, challenges document, product name. Product name. We'll map this to the product description. Prospect pain points. I think we might have changed this to features. So what I'll do is I'll say list view right under here. Whoa, list view. It won't let me put a list view inside a column. It's because this is a row. It's not really liking. This row would have undefined or infinite width. Okay, so it's because I might just rebuild this part of it. So we got row. And add another row. Okay. This is going to be a piece of text that goes here. And this is going to contain the product name. Duplicate this. This will contain the product description. Good. I'm hoping in here I can pop a list view in there. Still not very happy. Probably because something else is not constrained. Something in there is not constrained and it's not happy. But I need a list view so I can map down my. Yeah, at least I can put it right here. And here what I'll say is generate children. I'll say feature list. challenges document, features, confirm, save, generate. And then for each one of these, I'll say feature list item, no further changes. Okay. This will give me bold. All right. So now what I can do, just add some padding around this. This row, put 20 at the top. Good. And then what I'll do is actually combine some text here. I'll say combine text, text one, put like an emoji or something. Emojis don't work, huh? Oh, they do. Okay, cool. Now I got product name, product description, features. Good. And then we actually didn't even add the objection, right? So that's what we got to think about. We got the product down. Got product name, product description, features. And the prospect objection is a sentence. So I think that's something that we left out. We put some pain points, but we don't have a sentence. So let me actually add something. We'll say prospect objection string. Okay. And then what we'll do here is we'll map this to the challenges doc project prospect objection. All right. So now at least we have the product name mapped to the, and that will come from the challenge database. We'll have the prospect objection mapped. The next thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that my backend API call is taking in the challenge ID, right? Remember, I did that earlier. And this is exactly why, because I knew I was going to be working on the challenge database. So what I'm going to do is send the challenge ID. And so we can then pull the data from this challenge ID from BuildShip. And that way we can then take the information about the challenge and send that to the AI as well. Okay, so I'm just going to add challenge ID and then drop that right here and hit save. Okay. And I'm going to make sure that I use the same naming convention here. So I'll say challenge ID save. Then I'm just for sake of remembering, I'm going to go back to the API call in BuildShip, request body, and I'm going to add challenge ID. ID of the challenge database. ID of the challenge in the challenges collection. Save. Cool. So now I'm sending that challenge ID up with it. Heck yeah, we are doing good. Now I can set this additional variable in the backend call, set the challenge ID, and the challenge ID will be the challenge ID from the document. Challenge ID is the same as a document reference because you can now hit available options document ID. So this will send the ID of the challenge that is being presented on the page, and then we can use that data later. Sweet. Okay. Test it. Let's test it. New test mode. So what success looks like right now is when I load this app, I should see a random challenge. It probably will be the first challenge in the database, but that challenge data should be the data from the database that's shown on the front page. And then the next step, which we'll tackle in next session, is actually wiring this up to the back end, telling the backend where to get the challenge data from, right? So the next step from here is to actually get the challenge. So I'm actually have to update this. I'll zoom in. So the next step is actually to get the challenge from the challenge database. We call this get challenge by ID. Look up challenge in challenges collection and supply data to the next. Cool. So essentially what we're going to do is hit that challenges database that we had designed earlier, right? Oops. And then what we'll do is that challenge data, right? We need to tell the OpenAI assistant about the challenge data. Um, so then we will convert the speech to text, and then we will send that data to the OpenAI assistant. Like we're going to need to construct a prompt that says um, input product pain points prospect objection, right? So the prospect objection we're going to get from this challenge, and then we can send it to the assistant. That way, the assistant knows what did the prospect say, what was the product that was being sold, what was the product description, what were the features of the product, so that we can give our sales rep assistant as much data as possible. We want to do this on the back end because if anything changes on the challenge database, we'll have that data available on the back end, and we don't need to supply it from the front end every time. Missing or insufficient permissions on security rules, which means we can't read from the database. That's not good. So we'll go here, Firestore settings. Looks like Firestore rules are not deployed. So I'll hit deploy. Nice. Instant reload. And if this works, we'll call it a night. I'm not sure what this week's schedule looks like for idea to live stream. Going to kind of play it by ear. Going to shoot for tomorrow, and shoot for Thursday. Well, tomorrow's Thursday. Won't shoot for Friday, but we'll shoot for tomorrow, 100%. And then we'll make sure that the course is all caught up. But good. So it looks like we have the data popping up in here, but not everything that we need. So first of all, we need to fix this overflow. Let me get rid of these extra tabs. It's driving me crazy. Okay. So first thing we'll do is make sure that this row that everything is in, it looks good. So that should fix. Looks like this overflow is still hanging off. Text. There we go. Awesome. And then the features aren't showing up. So let's figure out why. Is it because there's no features? Flex desk, adjustable standing desk. We'll head over to our database, manage content. It's very likely that there's just no data in here. Yeah, there's no features in here. So we'll say flex desk. I don't know why it's doing that, but we'll go features. And unfortunately, we just killed ChatGPT, and that had some of our good data in it. So adjustable height, spacious surface. Cool. So now that's showing up. And it does look like there's more overflow here. Could just mean that our spacing and our sizing is bad. So this container has a height. I'm actually going to remove that container height just so it can flex with the size. Let's refresh this. Nice. That looks good. Okay, flex desk, boom, prospect objection. There currently is no prospect objection in any of this, right? So for flex desk, we will add a prospect objection. I don't know why it's giving me that huge thing. Um, we need to say, please, or not please, add a prospect objection to each product. This is an excuse the prospect is making not to buy the product. Remember, you are role playing with a rep. The person says, I can manage with my current desk setup. And let's just go ahead and do all of them. So we'll do smart home thermostat next, which was I actually just did the same objection for my home, which somebody just called me recently to sell me security, health plus. Okay, I'm gonna leave this alone for now. because I have a feeling that the database will change over time as well. So let me go back to test mode. And it looks like the objection is popping up right here. The next thing I'm going to do is remove that debug kind of square that I put because I don't want that anymore. And I'm also interested next in implementing the recording technology. So maybe that's the next thing that we'll do after we have the functionality. So cool. Now what's happening is the challenge is fetching from the database. I have a challenge right here. And when I hit get started, I'm given the opportunity to submit a manually recorded file. Um, I can send that manually recorded file that goes to BuildShip, but BuildShip still doesn't know about the actual challenge. We need to get BuildShip to know about the challenge. I'm actually down to do that right now just because I'm on a roll and I think that will wrap up a really good user story. So what I'll do is I'll go to build ship and that challenge ID is already there, but I want to make sure that my front end is sending the data. So I'm going to go dev tools, stop and submit recording, let it upload. Challenge ID is not being, oh, it's because this test mode expired. Instant reload. This is going to be a huge win if we get this functionality working where we can also send it the information about the product. So we'll go get started. Sell me the phone case, upload that. Challenge ID is being sent. What actually wasn't sent though was the audio input path, which is kind of weird. So sell me the phone case. There's the input path. Okay, cool. So the challenge ID is being sent. I'm going to head back to build ship and hit test. And I'm going to test as if I was sending this challenge ID. Essentially, what you can do right here in build ship is test your API call. Test this workflow. Essentially, we're replicating an API call as if we are doing it from the front end, but we can do it right here in build ship, which is good. Okay, cool. It says, thank you for sharing the response, but it seems like there was a mix up. The answer references a phone case. Cool. Well, that's fine. As long as it's working. The next step from here is to actually fetch the document based on the challenge ID. So I'm going to go nodes, Firebase, get document, get Firestore document. Boom, boom, boom. Project ID. My project ID is not available right here, but I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna pause my screen real quick so you don't see me log into Firebase. Got my project ID. Document ID is going to be the document ID from my request body challenge ID. Then in my return clause, excuse me, my return statement, I'm going to add a comma and I'll say challenge data colon, and I'm going to see if I can output the Firestore document test. Value for argument document path is not a valid resource path. Path must be a non-empty string. So document path. Hmm. Challenge ID, audio input path. Let's see what happened here. Ah, spelt wrong. Permission denied, missing or insufficient permissions. That's okay. So we'll go here. Integrations, or excuse me, not integrations, but general service account. And I'm going to do this without you looking. Give me a second here while I give access to Google Cloud. This is all part of the build chip documentation, by the way. I'm just going through the build chip docs and I'll show you what exactly I just did in a moment. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen again. Pretty much what I just did is I went through this quick documentation from BuildChip on how to connect BuildChip to your Firebase project. So that's all there. And no, try again. I actually have heard that it takes a little bit of time, which is annoying. Pretty much what I did is I integrated the node, accessed the build chip settings. I got this service account. Then I went here and did it. Okay. I went here and added the role of cloud data store user in Firebase admin and I hit save. But I do remember it saying, yeah, it takes a couple minutes sometimes for it to propagate. And this is exactly what happened. We got this exact error code, right? Permission denied. And then it said it will take a few minutes. So we'll keep trying. Um, but essentially, I don't really want to move forward until this works because I don't know what the output's going to look like. Okay, so that looked like it worked. It just had the wrong variable. Looks like we're good to go now. Request, body, challenge ID. Ooh, it still doesn't like it. I think it's grabbing the wrong thing. It should say body, challenge ID. There we go. Yep, and if we click on the plus sign, we see that the data is there. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. And then what, when I go to the actual response and I go to challenge data, okay, cool. So I get features, product description, product name. Nice, I get everything. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Now we'll go to the prompt. The product being sold is, we can say variables, get Firestore document data dot product underscore name. The objection is now data dot it was prospect objection, right? Yeah. So product underscore name, prospect objection. Cool. That's pretty much all we need. If we want to, the features of the product, we could say data dot uh, features. Did we do product description? No. The description of the product being sold. Nice. Okay, cool. I'll leave this alone. I'll hit ship, and we should now have a fully working sales rep assistant. Okay, so flex desk, adjustable standing desk, get started. I'm gonna do sell me this pen. Actually, I don't think it's gonna. It has nowhere to it has nowhere to output the response, but I have the response right here in audio file URL. Thank you for presenting your response. While your pitch was detailed and passionate, it appears that you mistakenly described a different product. Okay. So I think it knows. Oh, but look, focus on addressing the specific objection about the current desk setup by highlighting the unique benefits of flex desk, adjustable standing desk. That would have only outputted if it knew about the product. So I have reason to believe that it's working. That's awesome. Um, that's actually really, really cool. What I could do to test it is try a different product, but I'm not sure how I would rearrange this right now because it's going by order. I'm just going to believe it's working because I could even go right here and I see get Firestore document. Output was the desk. That's good. And then the OpenAI assistant, I could say input data, thread, content. Yeah, it does. It is talking about the flex desk. So that means it's working. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So we even took care of this part just now. So all this is done. Okay. The next step is to actually tie this up next session into this page where it actually will output a call review summary. This is going to take a little bit of some strategy where we need to plan the JSON response structure because this is going to be a JSON object that gets outputted right here. So we're going to need to learn how to design a piece of JSON, and that piece of JSON is going to contain probably an array of like, probably we're going to say feedback array like this with an array. Each item in the array will have an object, and we'll say type, probably like type equals good. And then we'll say feedback heading, and then feedback text. And then we'll probably have like multiple of these, right? So we'll have feedback array. This feedback array will populate this piece of the screen right here. And then we will have most likely an action plan JSON. And we can come up with what that's going to look like. Nice. So pretty much once we have this flow wired up, we're going to have the entire kind of MVP done where we can then take a challenge, complete it, send the audio to the AI, and then have an output here. The next step would then be to go back to the homepage and then wire up what the second and third and fourth and fifth user journey is going to look like. So I have a feeling that we can make solid progress. And then we will do some R&D and some research on the voice widget to figure out how we can input the voice. Nice. This was an awesome stream. I know we went probably like an hour and a half, but well worth it. A lot covered, and I hope you guys learned something new today. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next session. Take care and have a good night. Thanks for everything that y'all do for us. If you're enjoying the Idea to $1,000 challenge, I invite you to join the 7-day no-code build an app challenge, where over 7 days, you will build your own AI-powered app yourself. The link is in the description. It's just $7. We do this to filter out the entrepreneurs from the real entrepreneurs. Come join the 7-day no-code build an app challenge. You can upgrade to have access to a premium Discord channel where you get access to me and over 130 challenge takers at this point. This is a way for you to put some skin in the game and actually go from idea to building an app. You'll be building your own AI-powered app. I provide you a full template. All you need to do is clone the template, follow the steps. It's probably about an hour long of course content. You get to learn directly from me, and I want to see you build and launch your own app. So click the link below, and without further ado, let's jump into the challenge.